first place. So it doesn't matter if it was a misdemeanor or a felony or whatever. There's citizens vote.
Well,
It shouldn't have ever been taken away.
yeah, I mean, that's a
Can you
good
do that?
point.
Can you go that
That's why I was saying that if you can keep the argument as simple as possible, is, you know, if the person is a citizen, they have the right to vote. We may have decided that while they're in prison, they can't vote, but otherwise they can vote. So what we're not doing is sort of looking and making a moral, legal judgment over the person based on all these extraneous kind of factors about, you know, reviewing the evidence of the crime and deciding whether or not it's worthy of voting or not. You know, I think this is a good segue to actually have a couple examples of how absurd, and I will use that word, and if you don't, after hearing from Frank and Pamela, think that our current system isn't absurd, then let me know. But Frank, if you can tell your story now.
Sure. Convicted of a nonviolent felony in 1999, and I served 2 years and 2 months in prison. After coming out of, well, while I was in there, well, it doesn't matter what I did while I was in there. It's a nonviolent crime. I did good things while I was in there, you know, tried to take some classes and such things. Came out, got a job, you know, did everything I thought I was supposed to do. I got my associate's degree from a community college. You know, I'm married, and everything I thought I needed to do to get my rights back. I heard about this process. You know, I started getting involved in politics and even registering several hundred voters myself. I heard about the process to get your rights back. And so I went through that process. The short application was just 1 page long for nonviolent felons like myself. And the application says, you know, have you been convicted of any misdemeanors in the past 3 years? Well, no, I hadn't. Not since 1999. And so I figured I'm eligible. I turned it in. And but what happens is it goes to the Secretary of the Commonwealth before it goes to the governor. The Secretary of the Commonwealth looks at your record, and they pass it along. Sometimes they make a recommendation. The governor has the ultimate decision to make on the issue. And I got a letter back, and this was 2008, August, when I submitted the application. I received it back not until the next year, found out that I was denied, and no reason was given. And it's the policy not to give a reason. So I started looking into it, finding out, well, what can I do? You know, maybe I can get some support for these, you know, this is under Tim Kaine, so I thought maybe, you know, I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I thought, well, maybe somebody denied it on Tim Kaine's behalf, and it wasn't him personally doing it. So I started talking to state senators and lawmakers, and Stephen and other friends working on the issue, and so I started getting some people to call the governor's office on my behalf, and also on behalf of the cause of a blanket restoration of the right to vote for everybody, not just for me. So finally I get an email back from the Secretary of the Commonwealth's office, from the Assistant Senior Deputy Secretary. And he said that the reason why I was denied was because I have traffic tickets. Now, last I checked, traffic tickets are not misdemeanor offenses. And although I, you know, had a handful of tickets, it's still just traffic tickets, like things like having speeding or having the wrong sticker on my car, not misdemeanors. I know you can get a misdemeanor for reckless driving. It wasn't anything like that. So, naturally I was shocked, and I found out about this, and I thought, well, surely there's something we can do about this. And this is around the time when, right after we had this previous roundtable with Howard and some other organizations, and part of what we were planning to do was, well, last resort is let's go public with this. I figured, you know, we don't have much time left. It was going to be January 16th before Tim Kaine was going to leave office. So we decided to go public with it, talk to some bloggers, newspapers, ended up getting interviewed, and you know, got a lot of attention for the issue. And finally, Stephen and I found a public event where Governor Kaine was going to be attending, and we talked to him. And he knew about my case. He said, "Well, yeah, but you have a bunch of traffic tickets." I said, "Well, I don't think that that traffic tickets should have anything to do with whether or not you have the right to vote." He said, "Well, that's what you think. And, you know, I've restored rights to some people who had traffic tickets, but just not you."
You have, his exact words, you have too many moving violations. Now, there's nothing in writing about moving violations having anything to do with this process.
They're not
He
misdemeanors.
did not define how many is too many. He said explicitly, if you only had 1 or 2, I might have restored you. And and like we're having, as you were saying before, you know, the governor is focused on this idiocy to try to determine how many moving violations merit somebody being able to vote or not vote, rather than spending every waking hour worrying about transportation in the schools and everything else that he has responsibilities for. So this Democracy Restoration Act, you know, would cut through that stuff and say, look, let's not get bogged down in trying to make this individualized assessment of people. And we have another person here who I was proud to have met at a demonstration that we did in Richmond in front of the City Hall in January. Cold weather, right?
Yes.
So Pamela, why don't you tell your story?
Yes, my name is Pamela Nicholas. In 1980, I was a teenager, still in high school. I was working at Bradley's department store, and I wound up and got 2 misdemeanors, trying to do something for friends, not for myself, just being an idiot, I guess. And nothing ever left the store. It's just that I wanted the wrong prices on the merchandise, so that was 2 misdemeanors. And I think it was in 91, I was with some more friends, and we were in Hat Company in Colonia Heights. And so that was another misdemeanor. So they said 3 misdemeanor makes a felon of the same. So that's how I wound up getting a felon. I've always worked. I'm a very dependable person. Nothing beats a failure but a try when it comes to me and doing what I can for society and trying to reach out to others. And yes, of course, I, hung with wrong people, but I made the wrong choices. So I don't blame other people for what I done. And I have 5 kids, and I'm 46 years old now. And I just I got a 2-year-old. And so, like I said, I never knew how to go about getting my rights restored to vote. So my brother-in-law called me. I really wanted to vote when President Obama went in. And I just didn't know how to go about doing it. So that overpassed me. But my brother-in-law came to me back in 2009. He works on the school board at Petersburg. And he called Roslyn Dance office. They sent me a packet. So this was in 96 when I came off, because I actually I had to do 6 months being locked up when all of that happened back then. And so I got my packet in, I think it was District 19, I'm not sure. They helped me with the packet. I had one of the probation officers that was real close with me, because I've always been in church, always doing stuff, always had jobs. I worked for the Honorable Charles Hardaway Marks. I took care of him while he was living. I took care of his wife. I've always been doing so much, for the community, reaching out. And when I actually tried to go and last year to get my stuff in, it came back, bam, just that quick, that I was denied. I didn't understand why I was denied, because all of that happened in 80 and 91, and they actually, like I said, I think it came off probation in 96. And so when I heard this gentleman's speech at the demonstration about his moving violations, because I do have plenty of moving violations, I was shocked. So in December, I think it was December the 12th, they invited me to try to go in again and hurry up and try to get a letter in before the governor had came out. And I just got the letter back, and they denied me again. They said I have to wait 2 years before I can. And so that is actually affecting me, because you have to get your votes restored before I can get an expungement off my record. And I'm actually in school now. I go to Fortis College to be a medical office administration. And I'm wondering how that's going to affect me after, because I graduate June 1st. And I'm wondering how that's going to affect me as far as me getting my job.
Let me ask you all a question. How many of you have had moving violations?
I was just going to say, I mean...
Okay. Now, isn't this ridiculous? I mean, how in the world can you justify saying that somebody can't vote because they have moving violations?
Let's just all stop voting.
Arbitrary and capricious.
Yeah, let's
That
just.
would fix it.
I mean, this is absurd.
It's a caste system.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not saying that that's what happened to me, but I believe in my heart it is, since when I heard his.
Well, when I got that email saying that it was because of the moving violations, it was funny because, first of all, they started out by saying, it's the policy of the governor's office not to tell you why you were denied. However, I'm going to tell you why you were denied. It's because of the moving violations.
And he put it in an email.
Yeah, I have
Yeah,
it.
we have the email.
I hope I would like
Oh yeah,
to see
I
that
sent
sometime.
it around.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.